Good evening. Maybe wait for the introduction to finish. Um, Thank you for being here to this debate. It's an honor for me to moderate this debate for you with the captains of industry here present, Mr. Bruno Rademacher from UNO, Mr. Volker German from Audi, Trudeau Motmans from ASCO, and Mark Marisse from Engicon. If you allow me, I will do a short introduction on the importance of manufacturing industry. If you would have any doubt of the importance, I will hope to get all the doubts away. So as you see on the picture, manufacturing industry is the backbone of a good economical system. We did a study a couple of years ago, which was called Manu Matters, which we had some findings that you might know, but one out of four people who are active are winning their money thanks to manufacturing industry. 70% of the goods with an added value, manpower, are exported. The income of that takes care of our purchasing power, education, social security, safety, and healthcare. It's the biggest enabler for jobs, for added value. We're working on greenification, on CO2 neutral companies. So it's really a very important sector. And most of all, 70% of R&D comes from manufacturing industry or industry as such. So in sequence of that, we were discussing what do we do now? Where's Belgium positioned and how are we seen in an international landscape? So we worked together with the VUB, with the University of Brussels, for a roadmap to the attractiveness of Belgium, to augment it. We did it with 3 phases. There was a study, 25 documents, lecture papers were examined by 3 professors of the university. We had an online interview with a survey with more than 100 companies replying, and we had 25 in-depth interviews. So from the study, from the different studies, we discovered that there are 12 continuous pressures on our companies today. There are market and non-market related, and on a short and a longer term. I will not go into detail on all 12 of them because I will keep the introduction quite short, but let's say that all of our industries have, at this moment, a cost pressure in a global value chain. We have limited subsidiary specific advantages. I will come back to that later. On the non-market issues, today we have a lot of impact on multi-level regulative impact and the cost related to that. On the longer term, but even today already, we have the global value chain and the digitization of the global value chain. And of course, the big threat or the big concern about cybersecurity. And then on the non-market, on the longer term, it's not in my backyard or not in anyone's backyard attitude. Let's see the Ventilus cable, for example. Apart from that, well, we did a study, and afterwards we had, of course, Corona. Then we had a ship on the Suez Canal, the Evergreen, which blocked the whole value chain with months of impact. We had the war in Ukraine. And of course, in the meantime, we had to compete with Brexit that was deploying. And of course, at this very moment, we are in an unseen energy crisis. So our people here, they are warriors. They are preparing themselves for the brave new world of manufacturing, what this debate is all about. In the second phase of the study, in the online survey, we went a bit further and we asked companies, when you started here, about 25 topics we asked, when you started here, which of those topics were critically important? And how is that today? I cannot go into detail because we asked it for multinationals, for SMEs, for family-owned and others. One of our strengths in general is the availability of highly skilled talent in Belgium. Excellent transport infrastructure, closeness of the demand, degree of openness in our country and the neighboring countries in Europe, and of course the political stability and rule of law. But there's also weaknesses, large weaknesses, which even caused companies leaving our country. Excellent sites for future expansion. If you try to get a factory for batteries in Belgium, try to find the surface. Abundance of low-cost labor is not there anymore, where it was maybe initially starting. The presence of raw material, or the lack of. Government subsidies, there are lots of, but you can't find the wood through the trees. And then high-quality production site and real estate might be an issue. We also asked them, how do you position your weaknesses and your strengths compared to sister subsidiaries in your multinational group, or for smaller companies, likewise companies in neighboring countries? Very nice to know that we, people here, say that innovation and production quality is our top differentiator. But what you see in the back of the presentation is the production cost, which is the biggest challenge, and compared to neighboring subsidiaries is quite negative. This is one. We also asked him, if you would have a potential better location than Belgium, where would you go to produce at a lower cost, to provide more value to your customers, or to innovate more effectively? Does anyone have an idea on what the answer might be? Someone? Anyone? You, sir? No? Well, maybe you will be surprised, but it isn't China. It's Germany in the first place, it's Poland, then comes China, then comes Czech Republic, and then come the Netherlands. So that's quite astonishing. And where does that come from? So what we think after analysis is that Germany is the benchmark country par excellence. They have a stronger, long-term oriented industrial policy. They have much larger market and clusters, a variety of technically driven institutes and universities, and a high quality reputation. But then of course we have Poland or Czechia. And there we see that they have about the same quality and technically skilled people at a much more lower labor cost. Or Italy, a bit the same, but accompanying that are tax measures that are maybe interesting when you do Industry 4.0 initiatives. And then Holland, our neighbors, they are considered as being much more entrepreneurial. The government is much more coaching than we are. So that's a bit the lessons learned in that part. Critical to know, I cannot resume more than 100 pages in 5 slides, but critical to know. The attractiveness of our country declined on any of the 24 parameters. In Europe, our neighboring countries have an equivalent access to the same kind of talent, but at a much more lower labor cost. And third of all, innovation and production quality are differentiating factors. Positive thing. According to us, it's 12:05, and as Agoria, we're working on that. But what are the neighboring countries do? When we are discussing with the university and also with my colleagues from the study center, what are the best examples, and also with the industry, of course, what are the best examples? And Singapore was one of them, but okay, Singapore, we cannot maybe compare it. Then we went and looked around us. And then we say, okay, Germany, even if they're already on top, they are working on a 2030 program, which is called Germany 2030 Creative Renewal. We have Ireland, which is a lot working on skills, Industry 4.0 skills, which have a strategy 2025. And then Österreich Industry 4.0. What have they all in the mean? They are all leading the way, cross-region, upgrading the entire economy's infrastructure and talent based towards Industry 4.0. That's something we should keep in mind, and that we are keeping in mind for the moment. So for Agoria, for the moment, our focus and recommendations are, we're working on competitiveness at this very moment, on labor cost, energy cost, others. On talent, activation of talent, of course, but also creating talent. Youngsters in leading the right way, in the right training, in the right universities. And the importance of research and development. If research and development leaves your country, your manufacturing industry will follow almost automatically in very much cases. Not in all of them, but in much cases. So this is an important one to know. And especially in that corner, there are some initiatives at this very moment going on that we're not very happy with, and that we are in discussion with the minister. I cannot go further into detail, but what we stressed to the Minister van Petegem over the past weeks he didn't realize the importance of his initiatives and the impact on our industry. So we're going in detail in discussion with him in the coming weeks. So for you, these are matters of manufacturing. But on the other hand, manufacturing matters. It does matter. So I hope you are all aware of that. So our message is, please cherish, embrace, anchor, and strengthen manufacturing industries. Thank you. I will now go to my dear debate, my panel. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Mark, allow me to start with you. And you were here 2 years ago. The debate was then led by Mark Lambot. A lot has changed. We discussed about Corona, the war in Ukraine, the supply chain, and now today energy crisis. So how are you dealing with that, Mark, today? I'm very curious.
I don't know.
Yes, it's going.
Is it coming? Right.
Okay,
Okay, thank you. First of all, Ben, thank you very much for the insights you gave us once again. I must say this is just confirming what we are living every day. Looking back to what we explained 2 years ago, we live in a completely different world. COVID-19, Corona, has forced us to shift from a presential economy, presential manufacturing, to a remote working organization. And this was a drastic impact on the way of working, on the way of we have been cooperating not only with our own people, but also with suppliers and especially with clients. As you know, we are a project-oriented organization, and being present with your clients, with your customers, with your subcontractors is of utmost value. So we had to reinvent our cooperation, our way of working. I think we settled very well, we recovered very well, but of course, unfortunately, this has brought to us an extra cost. And then, unfortunately, we had the Ukraine war.
Yeah, on top of that.
Which brought us another completely different kind of problems. The early months of the war, we were told by our suppliers that we wouldn't get any materials anymore, any raw materials. So this was a huge problem. We have been searching for other sources out of Europe. We found some sources. Unfortunately, we had very long delivery times, and we had costs which were much higher, especially logistic costs. But then, after 4 or 5 months, I think the situation relaxed a little bit. We could get our materials again. Of course, we had some delay in projects going on with clients, and we saw the cost raising. So still today, we have the problem of availability of raw materials and extra cost of raw materials. And this has had an influence on the reactions, on the positions of our clients. Bringing an extra cost, of course, we have been trying to calculate this and present this new situation to our clients. And some of them have accepted it, maybe partly accepted it, and some of them have said, wait a moment, just come back next week, and in the meantime, we will recalculate the viability of our project. And frankly speaking, we have been missing some projects due to this extra cost, due to the war in Ukraine.
Huge impact.
And as this was relaxing, thank you very much, we get the energy crisis. We try to give an answer to that by being even more efficient. Frankly speaking, we were a bit late. I've not been a favorite person very long for solar power, but I have to say we have installed a solar power panel installation. And I think by early next year, we will be able to cover 25% of our electricity cost by this installation. So this is just as an example of how we have been trying to cope with that situation. But I have to say, we step by step, unfortunately, we are getting in a rather dangerous mixed situation of international politics, lack of materials, social circumstances. You mentioned it today. So it's very difficult to judge what tomorrow will bring.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Supply chain, Volker, last time you were also in the debate together with Mark and Mark Lambot. In the meantime, electrification of vehicles has increased enormously. We all recall, I think, the discussion on batteries and the base materials, raw materials of batteries, and then also the whole semiconductor discussion. So how do you, as another type of organization, stay on top of that? How are you coping with that? How do you remain in the position, let's say, in lead position?
Yeah, thank you, Ben, first for the invitation and a warm welcome to the public here to the debate. No? Yeah, since the last time, it changed, but I wouldn't say it's not more stable. I wouldn't say maybe it's a new normal. Maybe it's a new normal. And we must accept that the surrounding world is changing. The customers are changing. 5 years ago, when we start here in Belgium with e-tron, the people said, e-tron, 100% electrical, and today it's changed. You see Norway is more or less they're on the way to 100% electrical cars, and I think since 25 it's a law there, only electrical cars. And we also see normally when we bring a new car in the beginning, it's we could sell much more, but we can't build it. No? And here in the e-tron, it's a little bit different. No? It starts, and I think it was also good for the whole logistic chain and supplier chain. It starts a little bit slowly, and now, and that's not normal, because normally the car is in the beginning, the selling high, and then year for year it goes down. And the e-tron, it makes now a different story. It starts slowly, but now he came more or less in amounts of cars what we never thought in this time. No? And this is also the story, maybe you know it, Ben, we are ramping up in the moment. No? We produced more cars per hour, and we must react and we must be quick. No? And then he told it with stories from COVID, no? And with Ukraine and semiconductors. Ukraine, it's, I think, the worst story. Nobody from us thought that we will have a war in Europe. No? But we came from one, I would say, not crisis, from also not normal. A war is not normal, it's abnormal. But we came from a very stressy situation to the next. It was the Ukrainian war, you remember. We had some suppliers over there. We must find new suppliers. No? But also there I'm very proud, and I can say this official, it's not a secret. The suppliers which delivered us from the Ukraine, they delivered us up to date. We had now, this is also costs money. We had our Ukrainian supplier, and if he can deliver, he had the first priority. If he had problems because of the war, then we start to change to our second one. Although this we make in the whole group. No? And this is a short-term reaction, and I think we are very, we learned a lot also with IT. We help us now for the supply chain. You said it with the Suez Canal, no? With the Evergreen, to be quicker. No? And on long term, this starts here also. We look now to avoid the lack of material,
Yes.
but also what you said, I think we will get also a war of talents in the future. No? And we see it also here in the Belgian market, no? To get a specified person. It's much more difficult than for 2-3 years ago. No? And there we are working. And, we want to be also independent, no? Because in the beginning, we thought, we can get the cells from the Asian providers. Mm-hmm. And, with our PowerCo company in the Volkswagen brand, we will build in the next years 5 gigafactories all over Europe. No? You know it very well.
The story, yeah.
We struggled also for one, maybe. And also for the raw material for these factories, because we thought in 5 and 6 years it will be much more difficult. And then in the meantime, it's a big challenge. It's the point of the energy costs, of the inflation in the moment, because if salary is rising up 8, 9, 10%, it's not normal, no? And it's difficult to say, okay, I put it on my product, the customer will pay. These are costs in the moment. It's not possible to give it back to your customers. No? And I think this is a big challenge what we will get now in the next months and years.
Okay, thank you. There was some young talent here walking around, so I hope they understood the message that they are welcome.
Warm welcome.
I will pass to Trudeau. Trudeau, aerospace has been hit very hard, even today, I think. You're from ASCO, but you're also chair of the Flemish aerospace group within Algoria, and it was a group that replied very proactively on the crisis. Could you go a bit further in detail on what you did with ASCO, with your group of FLAC?
Maybe I shall expand a little bit on the crisis. We had the COVID-19 crisis, but on top of that, we had the grounding of the 737 by Boeing for a long time, the 737 MAX. We had the suspension of the production of the 787, which is lasting today for more than 1 year. We had the Ukraine war, which closed the market for Russia. And we have the resulting supply and labor market issues, which are common to all of us, I think. The recovery to the 2019 delivery levels will be expected between 2023 and 2025 only. So a slow recovery to the 2019 delivery levels. It depends upon the further waves of COVID-19 and of course of the evolution of the war in Ukraine. On the longer term, there is a 2-year lag to come at the pre-COVID recovery 20-year forecast. So we lost effectively 2 years. And I don't know if you realize what that means, losing 2 years in a certain sector, you can never recover from that. That is lost, money lost. The market demand in the aircraft industry, and now we are going to the more positive message, is driven by increasing passenger and cargo demand, of course, but also by higher energy prices. About 25 to 40% of the cost of the airlines is energy. And the higher the energy, the more the demand you will have for new, less consuming aircraft. And the last point is the long-term climate ambitions.
Yeah.
Market demand is the newest generation of aircraft today consume about 25% less than the previous generations, and to represent only 20% of the existing fleet in 2021. This new generation will be upgraded in the future and will be complemented by radical new types of aircraft to satisfy the ambitious European emission reduction targets of 0% by 2015 to be produced and operated, deconnected from the natural resources, which is a huge challenge. So that, and by 2041, 41, we expect that only 5% of the then forecasted fleet of 47,000 aircraft will be of the previous generations. So we will have a new, complete renewal of our fleets.
Okay.
To achieve the climate ambitions, it is anticipated that the aircraft industry, that this ambition will be realized through 4 elements. 46% of the effort is dependent on the development, production and distribution of sustainable aircraft fuels, be it bio, but that is quite contested, or synthetic fuels.
That's what we call green propulsion, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. 37% will be achieved through breakthroughs in technology. 10% comes from optimized air traffic management, and 7% of economic measures such as carbon credits.
Okay. Okay. So, sorry. No.
The target is clear. The way to achieve is challenging, considering that the time is short, 27 years. The time to bring new types of aircraft to the market is long, 6 to 8 years for any type of aircraft. And the financial situation of the industry is not brilliant. So what we have done with FLAC is we have worked on our technology roadmap together with research institutions, and we come to the conclusions that all these new technologies, which have to be incorporated in the aircraft, in the production cycles and in the maintenance cycles, that all these technologies require close cooperation between the different researchers. We cannot continue to have a research group by topic. We have to integrate the research in a certain mission.
Yeah.
So what we say is we plead for a mission-driven innovation journey, in close and structured cooperation in all phases of this venture with local and international stakeholders, including the public authorities.
Yeah.
The mindset has to be changed.
Demand industry-driven innovation.
Okay, exactly. Mission-driven.
Mission-driven, of course,
Yeah.
yes. Thank you. Bruno.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bruno comes from the other side of the country. He comes from the most eastern part of the country to be here. Tomorrow he returns because he has a meeting, so really appreciate it. I really appreciate it.
Vielen Dank. Thank you.
You hear it, he speaks German because he's also engaged, very engaged in AVET, which is a German employer community, let's say.
Employment community, yes.
So people might not know you very well. You're from Jumo. Jumo is also Factory of the Future 2020, so he's a very modern company. Maybe in 60 seconds what Jumo does, and then I'll come back to you with another question.
What is Jumo? Jumo Belgium is a subsidiary of Jumo Germany. The headquarters is in Fulda, in the centrum von Germany. Jumo is known for the build of sensors and automation, and we are a leader worldwide in 2 niches, in 2 specialty, in temperature sensors and in controller. In Eupen, we are located in Eupen, and also in Eupen we produce temperature sensors.
Okay, active in industrial automation.
In the industrial automation for the industry.
Okay. So Bruno, you're from the German part speaking of the country. We can, in my head, it is Wallonia, but it is not. So
it's a political thing.
So what are your 3 major challenges in that part of the country? Are they different from ours, or?
It's different. We have the same problems with energy, with the problems with the supply chain, but additionally we have a big problem. It is also a difference with the north and the south of Belgium. We are located of the 20 kilometers far the border of Germany, 25 of the Netherlands, and 60 kilometers from Luxembourg. The difference, the gap between the salary and the net salary is high. For example, for instance, the max difference for high professional profile, we spoke about talents, it's up to 40% with the net in Belgium. It's different to hold the people in Germany. In the German speaking, not Germany, it's Belgium, the German speaking region. For instance, 25% from the working people in the German speaking community leave each day the region and go to Germany or Luxembourg. It's a big problem for us. And for this we have a feedback. We do our best to hold the people in the German-speaking region.
Big challenge, competitiveness, attractiveness.
To do this, what we can do, for instance, we are very strong in dual learning. Dual learning, part-time in the factory, part-time in the school. Also, we introduced for two years ago, we introduced a short MBA with high level of coaching. It had very, very big success, 60 people for the first lessons, between 1 year. And also, one difference with our region is we have at the moment not a strategy. We need a global strategy with the industry, with the academic world, and the political.
The German-speaking part? Or
also in Belgium. Also in Belgium, but particularly in the German-speaking region. Why? For instance, in Aachen, 20 kilometers far from Eupen, they have introduced for 10 years a goal, an industrial goal. They want to develop R&D in Aachen with the Rhein-Westfälische Technische Hochschule, the University of Aachen. And they hired in 10 years 10,000 people. And it's a mix of different potential, of different parts of know-how from the whole world. And they hired in 10 years 10,000 people. And 20 kilometers far from the border of Belgium. On the other side, this is for the north of our region, of the west from Belgium. And in the south, the region of North Luxembourg, I don't speak about Luxembourg, I speak about the region of North Luxembourg. They have a strategy to develop the industry, and they do all things for this. They do a strategy, a social industry strategy. And we need absolutely in our region a strategy to defend our region. And our goal is to develop a strategy with the political people, with the education people, with the industry. And our goal is to do this for at goal 2040.
Okay.
But we must have a strategy, and also for Belgium.
Quadruple helix. Citizens, institutes.
It's a lot of work.
Government. Yeah,
it's a lot of work. We have to
long
synchronize activity with the political people and the academic people.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Challenging, very challenging. Mark, coming back to you, you have a company in Belgium, but you also have a company in Poland. Okay, we had the crisis. Is the reaction in the countries different? Was the support different? Did you see other evolutions in the both? Can you compare things between the two countries? They were also one of our competitors, let's say. If we build a new plant, it could be in Poland. So has it changed over the last couple of years?
Well, I think the situation has drastically changed the last few years. We have always seen Poland as a potential supplier, as a potential subcontractor. But we should not forget that for many years already, I think 10 or 15 years, the European community has been subsidizing, financing the Polish infrastructure with huge amounts, billions of euros. Now we see the result of that support, of that investment in infrastructure. But this has a lot of consequences. Not only do they have the best highways, not only are they developing the urban logistics, but what we used to have as welders, blue collars coming from Poland, not only to Belgium, but also to Holland, the UK, and other countries, as the standard has raised in Poland, as the infrastructure is okay, the energy industries, the logistics, and the trading has raised enormously. That makes that people are not willing to travel a lot or going to work abroad, but they could get same salaries at a better comfort in their home country. Now, on the one hand, that's okay, but we learn them, we teach them, we instructed them how to work. Now they are applying their knowledge into their own home market.
To become a competitor then, not in the interest of your market.
You are taking the words out of my mouth. It
Sorry.
makes that in a lot of cases we get new competitors. These are Polish people. So it's a huge problem.
Okay.
We have to look further, to look to other countries to get our labor,
Yeah.
workers, people. You should not forget that up to the moment that the Ukrainian war started, we are located in Kempno, about 60 kilometers away from Wrocław. Wrocław is 450 kilometers away from the Ukrainian border. We had 40 Ukrainian people working in our shop in Poland. After supporting them, this is a short eruption in supporting them, making them life a little bit comfortable. But they are all gone, they are all returned home. On the one hand, because they had to, on the other hand,
Yeah.
we are losing our workers over there. So, complication.
Okay. I just want to come back to you briefly. Internationally speaking, you had China as a market, if I'm correctly recalling, and the Middle East. China had a different corona strategy than others. What's the impact on your business then? Because that's production, what's business?
Well, first of all, you should know that we are out of Belgium. We were exporting our products, our projects to China. We have never been working locally in China, but we exported our projects. Now, still today, due to the COVID crisis, for us, China is closed. The market is closed. It's that simple. We keep an eye on it, but we can't export anything to China. That's a sad story, but we can't change it. We have to wait until the market opens. Nobody knows when or where, at what time, or how it will open. Nobody knows.
Okay.
We have a small entity in the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia, very small entity where we are trying to develop slowly but surely without taking any huge financial and technical risks. And on the contrary, on what you are living here in Europe, the Middle East is booming. The industry is booming, the energy industry, and not only the conventional energy sector, but also the renewable energies. They are working very hard on energy transition. And in that respect, I have to come back to what my colleague just told. We in Europe, I personally, sorry for the words, but I always say that in Europe we have a standstill policy. If you look at what the Saudis are doing, and I'm not saying I'm supporting or culturally speaking or whatever, I'm supporting the Saudis, but just economically speaking, they made a strategic plan in 2020. I invite everybody to Google Saudi Vision 2030. It's a huge strategic plan. I just made a copy of one page. It's about 80 or 90 pages, but it's incredibly frightening me. They intend to be, and I'll read what they public, Vision, Saudi Vision 2030, they intend to be the heart of the Arab and Islamic worlds. They intend to be the investment powerhouse. They want to be the hub connecting three continents meaning Asia, Europe, and Africa.
Yeah.
Just think about what my colleague said, strategic plan. I'm not supporting what the Saudis are doing, but I'm supporting such a strategic plan for Europe.
Yeah.
If we continue to work to develop as we are developing now, we have a standstill policy, in my opinion. And if you look on how the Saudis are developing their region, we will be the museum of the world.
Yeah. You're not the first to tell me about the Middle East program and the European strategy. Volker, maybe make a little bridge to you. I don't know how you say this correct in English, de bruidje maken. But the last interview with Mark, you also stated that Europe had fallen asleep. It's a bit what with Mark Lambot, and it's about what Mark's saying now. So you're joining Mark in his opinion. You're even in international, you have the same reflection.
Yeah, he said the museum, no? And maybe you know it, but the auditorium didn't know. I've been for 3.5 years, I'm working in China, but my first experience with the China market, it was 1988. So I was the first time in China for our company. And more or less I saw this country growing, no? And also the plan, what they developed. No? And this, when I go back to Europe, the Chinese guy, a friend of mine, I would call him, he said to me, Volker, watch it that you are not a big Disneyland in Europe. And that is the same what he said. No? And what does it mean? He said, hey, it's great. Europe, what you have, your food, the houses, to see the tiny streets, we love it. Huh? But you must develop. No? And this developing, I think there we must be much more quicker, and we must do it together.
Yeah.
He explained very well what is the problem in this small area from Europe. No? And it's not possible to say, now only Flanders or only Belgium will do it. We will lose it. We need the whole strange from Europe. No? We had success. No? When I see digitalization, there happened something. But there happened something that you understand. When I came now 6 years ago to China, it just starts with, maybe you said here, Apple Pay. In China, it's called WeChat Pay. WeChat is more or less a WhatsApp, but it's not only WhatsApp, it's also Facebook, it's also Instagram, and also your paying card. And it starts. And when I left China 3 years later, money? Why do you need money? Why you need this? Or here in Europe, I need I need here this for my cards to pay.
Okay.
In China, you take your iPhone and you pay it. No? And that's equal. You pay Apple at the 18-year-old lady, or you pay a new car with this for, I don't know, 30,000 euros, or then we changed in renminbis. No? Also it's quick. And so, and I think we had also what I see and saw here in Belgium, we had very good things for environment. And there I think we are in Europe a little bit in front. And China is looking also to us, what we are doing there and what they can learn and what they can maybe copy. No? And there we can get, I would say, my feet in the door and said, hey, this is my new strange, and you see what Saudi Arabia, no, they know exactly. Maybe in 100 years or earlier, there is no oil. Hey, what we do then? No?
Yeah.
Okay. And now they invested. And the same you can see in China.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Volker. You're a larger company, multinational. You're also from a multinational, I think, but as a smaller player than in Belgium. What's your opinion on the relaunch and resilience facilities of Europe, and how do you succeed there? Or briefly replying on what the colleague's saying from your position, from your
Very
point of view?
briefly, we don't have a strategic plan.
In Belgium, in Europe.
No, in Europe, we don't have, and we need a strategic plan. I spoke about the difficulties of the German-speaking region, but Volker says we have to, the Europe must give a strategic plan with help, with financial help, with to concentrate. You know, we have a lot of competence in Europe, a lot of competence. But also in China, the competence is upgrowing. They come at the level of Europe, and we have to synchronize the power of the know-how in Europe. And at the moment, it's not a fact. If I look at the financial help after the corona, the industry don't see something about this, of a little part of the help.
In Europe or in Belgium? Depends on the country.
The Europe help for Belgium, for instance.
Depends on the program, but I hear what you're saying.
And it's very low before the money is in the factory. It's very low. In the US, it was in a very short time. In 3 months, the money was in the factory, in the industry. In Belgium, 3 years.
Okay. So we're all agreed upon a stronger Europe and a stronger regional connection also within our country and then within.
It's a question of survival.
Okay. Okay, thank you. We're also technology here. We have to discuss some technology also. Thank you very much, Bruno. Trudeau, I want to make a little jump to you. Urban air mobility. There must be some technology in it, but for me, sometimes I like the films of Back to the Future, and the flying cars must have been here 2025, I presume. But can you give some examples already? Is this something interesting for ASCO or for society as a whole?
I think it might be something interesting, but we have to see how it will be developed, what it exactly needs when landing and taking off, and what services have to be provided at that spot. But there are some quite obvious uses that can be made from urban air mobility, and that is everything which is concerned with taxis, for instance, to avoid long travels. Everything what has to do with medical interventions, search and rescue missions, everything which has to do with police interventions or defense interventions, and connections in remote areas where you have always to go to a central hub before you can travel forward, and that takes a long time. Please travel in the US and you will see what I mean.
Yeah.
Now, urban air mobility is limited today up to 200 kilometers because of the battery range. So a lot of things have to happen, but if you want to engage in it, it is today.
Okay.
And we have some good companies in Belgium. A Unifly, for instance, which integrates drones into the airspace. We have Sol1, who certifies all models automatically. We have Seotech in avionics.
Yeah.
We have Solvay in composites.
Nice to have some
And
Belgian
so
players.
we have a whole battery of companies that could be engaged in this venture.
Okay, it's nearer than it's future. It's not Back to the Future. It's future. Thank you. Mark, come back to you. Discussed in the first question, you were talking about telework and others. Did the corona crisis also accelerate the introduction of some technologies? I don't know, digital twins or remote support. With the glasses, AR, VR. I don't know. Has this made an introduction in your way of working today?
Well, it definitely has influenced our cooperation with our partners and our subcontractors. As you know, what we offer to our clients are integrated steel solutions. That means that we are an integrator of the different parts which form an installation which we build for our clients. We have two aspects. On the one hand, we have a lot of engineering to be executed within our company, and on the other hand, we are still manufacturing parts or maybe the complete installations. But first of all, engineering is very important. Now we try to optimize it as much as possible. Secondly, production. What we are quite interested in is find new partners or partners that are evolving to new ways of working. And I think there we might still find some efficiency.
Okay, there might be some present here in the room or in the
Why not?
today. Okay.
Talking about engineering, and we have been discussing the COVID-19 influence. This has really made a shift. Has been a shift for our company. We had to reinvent a little bit the way of cooperating with our clients and production and engineering department. And after a very short period, we came to the conclusion that the ERP system that we are using was not fully compliant with the new way of reality we were faced at. Then, of course, one should think the solution is get a new ERP system. But we turned it upside down. What we did is question every step of every process within our organization. And our CEO has some bright ideas, and he launched a program, what we called Amaze. Amaze has different meanings. You can be amazed by something, can be surprised by something. But Amaze is also, I don't know how to explain it in English, but in Dutch it is een doolhof. It's something where you can get lost, where you can not find a way out.
Labyrinth.
Thank you. Yeah. So we have been trying to evolve every man, every woman in our organization to question the things they were faced with day by day. We have been questioning every process, and now step by step we are coming to new situations where we have optimized almost all our processes, and now the moment has come to look not for ERP system that suits us the best, but implementing the processes within an ERP system. So this is a bit the way we are trying to find some efficiency. And of course, today we have been talking about huge problems, about a lot of problems. And people might think that we are pessimistic. I don't think we are pessimistic. We have to be realistic. We have to cope with the problems. But on the other hand, we have to try to see the opportunities and try to optimize. And I think, in fact, what has changed, if we look back 2 years ago, then we told we have to be inventive. We have to find new ways of working. We have to find new ways of cooperating. I think the ideas, the principles are still the same. But as Volker said, the circumstances have changed. So we have to adapt. Be positive, be realistic, but try to be positive.
That's a good one. The lesson learned, and something my colleagues advise to companies who want to change, is don't digitize to digitize, but get first your basics right, and that's what you're doing. So, technologies and connected companies, connected factories. We also had last Monday we had Sven Biskop, a professor, in a meeting we had, a joint meeting, who is a renowned person, and he said also for the war we had to be careful for some hybrid warfare, let's say cyber attacking. So, amongst other spies and others. Cyber attacking in connected companies. Trudeau, permit me to go to you. ASCO is known for a case in the past. We have also done a sustainable study with Agoria, and our aim is, and you can all download the sustainability report, our aim is to go for 95 companies who have a cybersecurity plan for 2030, no, 2025, sorry. Trudeau, help me. Help me convince people that they need a cyber security plan, because sometimes you have the impression that people say, it's not for me.
So, some statistics, and there are multiple statistics about it, but cybercrime doubled between 2019 and 2021. With a total cost per data breach for business under 500 people of more than 2 million, and a recovery time exceeding 200 days. The COVID-19 lockdowns induced homework has not improved the situation.
No.
70% of our employees work on devices for personal use, and or use personal devices for work activities. The most important way into an organization is through phishing. Phishing can only be prevented by human attention. Insiders caused aggressions have increased by 48% since 2018. So please, when you digitize your company, when you interconnect everything in your company, take care to have a good architecture. Because today still 60% of the businesses do not invest in prevention and have no cybersecurity response plan. When a cyber attack takes place and you are infected in IT and also in OT, operational digital technology, then you can be blocked completely. I therefore plead, please have made a scan of your vulnerabilities before you invest a lot in ERP and other systems or in robotics and things like that. Please have a good architecture, have a scan of your vulnerabilities, protect your data, your assets and your business. That's what it is about.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And train your people, that's what you said too. And I must admit, what concerned phishing, as Agoria, we're very aware of the problem, and we have some internal phishing testing, and I'm very aware of the problem, and a couple of months ago I went full face up until almost the last click in an internal test. So it's really very sophisticated, so please be aware and train your people and your architecture. Digitization, Bruno, digital, another discussion, you always say you're concerned about the balance between human and digital. Can you just
It's
briefly
my
explain?
preferred team.
Your preferred team. We have to stay a bit within, but please, let's say one lesson learned, or the most important lesson learned.
Yes. Yes, it's not human versus
No, of
digital
course.
is together.
Mhm.
And at first, my opinion, too much digital kill digital, and the digital is not the solving of all the problems of the factory. It's a part, it's a tool to solve the problems, but not all the problems. We won for 3 years a Factory of Future, and 2 years ago, 2017, to introduce the digitalizing in our plant, we had digitalizing, to more digitalizing, we had a global plan. It's very important to have a global plan and to involve the people. And for me, the best way to go, the efficient way to go, is to make the balance with digital, the digital world, and the people. And the people, to learn the people, to sensibilize the people, what's digital, what's different. And one of the biggest problem is the people is afraid about digital. Can I lose my work with the digital? And we had proof just the difference. We hire people with the digital. Automation, it's our DNA, Jumo automation, it's our DNA, but it's very important to sensibilizing the working people and to use the digital. And we have learned this at, for instance, in 2017, our delivery time grew up from 3 weeks to 12 weeks for different reasons. 2 years after, with introducing of the QRM, with the digitalizing and with the people, the delivery time is cut to 2 weeks. From 12 to 2 weeks. The efficiency was very high, but you have to introduce a global plan with all the people and to speak with all the people. And absolutely with the management level. It's very important.
To get them engaged. Have them
Absolutely.
buy in with your own people.
Absolutely.
Okay. We're almost at the final question of the debate. I think it was very positive, and I recall the positive note you also mentioned, Mark. And Volker, you also said last time, we must do it, we can do it. Still, I think we can conclude like this, we still can do it. We must.
Yeah, we can do it, and let us do to work together on what we said before. Let us be one Europe, because we must speak with one voice. It's not possible that each country has his own voice, and that's not helpful. And these are also the risks in the future. It came here also, the higher energy costs, but also, Ben, we said it before the debate, the trust. The trust, for example, from my bosses who are sitting in other countries to this Belgium factory. Today, I can set it very clear, we make a big mistake. Because there is the action in Belgium to avoid higher energy prices, but sorry, we have it too. I have for the next year 3 to 4 times higher energy prices. And there we must find a solution, and it's not helpful to be loud and to shouting. This is not the solution. The solution we can only find in work together, in techniques, also in social contexts, to find solution for there are surely some people who are, they have a big problem now with a new gas bill when he is coming. But it's not helpful to say, oh no, I don't work today, I go on the street. It's not helpful for us.
We have to talk.
And then he said it with his factory in Bologna. We shouldn't forget also the eastern countries. They are totally in another area with a salary. This is okay, acceptable. I don't want this salary here. It's also not possible, but the answer couldn't be that the gap is much more bigger. This will end in a nightmare. And so there we must work quiet and structured together, and also over the borders. To work together. Only in a team, and in the car industry, team work is a big word, and we should also do it. We should work together.
Okay, we sit around the table, and together we can do it. I want to thank you for the debate. Thank you, Bruno. Thank you, Volker, Trudeau, and Mark. Thank you all for being here as long as you were here. Thank you very much. And don't forget, manufacturing matters. Thank you very much. Good evening.